I am just going to do a very brief welcome to you today. We are elated to have you, and especially Dr. Johnson and her, I don't know if I should say better half. Okay, her better half, she affirmed it, with us today to discuss her book, South Power of the Journey. And I've read about her. I met her personally this morning, and we had a good discussion. And so I'm going to get out of your way. We are elated that you're here today to listen. We've had a Book That Cade series this semester where we have brought in several authors, partnered with several of our colleges, so that you can hear the experiences, the scholarship, and definitely the learned experiences of people who have gone forward. Some who have graduated from Southern University, some who have not. And so today we'll get to hear Dr. Johnson's experiences and all that she will share with us today. And just from speaking with her this morning, I know she has a lot of information to share. So I hope you're able to glean something from the conversation. As I say at every Book Decade, listen carefully and think critically about what you're being told today, what you hear. Then use your library and research that information to see if it is right, what they're saying. Critically think about it and then go forward from there and make a decision. So welcome again. Thank you for coming. And I'll turn it over to our illustrious Dean of the College of Sciences and Engineering, Dean Martin.
Thank you all and good morning. This is the third one of these that I've had the opportunity of doing and speaking, and they get more and more phenomenal as we go along. So the first was Press Robinson, who's a former vice chancellor at Southern University in both campuses, SUNO and then also this campus. And then we also had an opportunity to honor Dr. DeCondre Watson, who recently left us. But we had an opportunity to honor her at an event like this. And so now we get the opportunity to really celebrate the literary matter. I've read it, and I read it in a day. It's such a fascinating and interesting read from Dr. Sandra Johnson. And I'm also very thrilled and elated to see so many students here to hear sort of Dr. Johnson's story. And half of it is about her time up to your age, right? And so she has so many gems of wisdom in that book that I'm hoping that she'll be able to share some of them with you when she speaks to us today. And so I'll be brief. I just want to really, and I'm just going to read it word for word, her bio, because I don't want to mess it up because it's very, very impressive. So I want to get it right. So Dr. Sandra Johnson is the CEO of SKJ Visioneering LLC, a technology consulting company. She is an independent director at Regional Management Corporation and Pan American Life Insurance Company. Dr. Johnson is the first Black woman to earn a PhD in computer engineering from Rice University. And her 26th year at IBM includes serving as the CTO, which is Chief Technology Officer or Chief Technical Officer, for IBM Central, East, and West Africa, and CTO of IBM Global Small and Medium Businesses. She has a background in high-performance computing and is a master inventor with over 45 pending and issued patents and over 80 technical publications. Now, among other things, I'm also a patent attorney. And so when I see someone with 45 pending and issued patents, I can tell you how much intellectual work went into that and how much actual work goes into that in getting that through the USPTO. So that, for me, that's quite impressive, and I rarely see that. She's authored 5 books, including her memoir, Soft Power for the Journey, The Life of a STEM Trailblazer, which is the book that we're celebrating today. Dr. Johnson earned her BS, summa cum laude, and MS degrees in electrical engineering from right here on the Bluff, Southern University, and Stanford University, respectively. And she earned her PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Rice University. She's a member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE, and she's also an IEEE fellow. And what is not on here that I want to say, even though she probably didn't want me to say it, is she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And I learned that in the book, and I can tell you, she's very proud of that element aspect of herself. So one thing I do want to say before I sit down and turn it back over to Dean Cade is, again, I read the book, and I read all the books when we had these book signings. And each book, I learned something different. And in this particular book, the story that I found most interesting, and I hope you don't mind me sharing it, Dr. Johnson, is when I believe she was a freshman here, and she took all these STEM classes, all these hard classes, and she took a volleyball class. And so she took this volleyball class, and there was a book that went with the class, and a syllabus that went with the class. And the instructor gave the book and talked about the syllabus and everything. And for the rest of the semester, all they did was play volleyball. They just played volleyball every class. And on the last day of class, the professor shows up with an exam that was about what was in the book, right? Now, Dr. Johnson had not touched the book since she got it. She hadn't read the book, she didn't do anything with the book, nothing about it, and no one in the class did either. And they're stuck, they have this exam with this volleyball, about volleyball, and they knew how to play volleyball, but they didn't know what was in that book. So they just guessed, and she ended up getting a B out of the class. And her study partner ended up getting an A. And they both guessed. And so she concluded that this was just random, right? This was just random, but she learned a lesson from it. And I learned a lesson from it too, right? And you should learn a lesson from it too. And the lesson is that sometimes there are things in life that you cannot control. Random acts of flyness, right? Or random acts of kindness, or random acts of tragedy. And you're going to be faced with those. But the lesson is to always try to be prepared for the thing that you don't see coming. And so that's what I took away, I think, a very strong and powerful message in this book, that, just be as prepared as you possibly can. And so what I also, as I kept reading, and I kept reading about her experiences, I noticed that after that volleyball debacle, she never got caught unprepared again. She was always over-prepared. She was always thinking, well, what could possibly happen? And so, things happen. There's tragedy in the book that I also want you to read and capture in your mind, because with everything that she's accomplished, everything she's got, all the patents and all the accolades, all the amazing things, what she also wants you to know is that she's human, and that she's had tragedy, and she's had to overcome tragedy. She's had setbacks. But none of that allowed her to stop striving for excellence, greatness, and for success. But not only that, and this is the most important thing, she never let the successes that she had define who she was or who she is as a person. And I think that's the most powerful piece, the most powerful message that I gleaned from this book. And so, we're going to buy at least 30 copies of this book. And so if you want to read it, we'll have it. But as you read it, really, there's lots of gems in here, right? So really read it critically, and read it with an open mind as to how you can apply some of the experiences that Dr. Johnson has had in her life that led to both failure and success, and learn from that so that you can find your own successes, and you can learn from your own failures. So even your failures are just pathways to success. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Dean Cade, and we'll keep going.
Please join me in welcoming our author, Dr. Johnson.
Would you like the microphone or?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Am I not in Louisiana? Hey, on the yard. Okay. Okay. So, can everyone see me, or do I need to stand? Those in the back, I know you can hear me.
We can see you.
All right, so I am so happy to be back on the yard. It's been a long time. I was here earlier this year, but just for a little while. And I have to say, my 4 years on campus on the yard were the best chronological 4 years in my life. And I also have to add that I've only been married for 4 years, so next year I probably will not be able to say that. So I want to respond to 3 things that Dean Morton mentioned as he gave his intro. The first is, and I think I'm going to say this in the order he mentioned it, I'm the first Black woman to earn a PhD in computer engineering, not only from Rice University, but in the world. He also talked about volleyball. So I want to just share with you a little story about volleyball. My husband loves to watch volleyball on television. He's from Namibia, Southern Africa. The only 2 sports that he loves to watch on television, and that's soccer and volleyball. And he just can't understand why I don't like to watch volleyball. So I think now he knows. I mean, I shared this story with him, but he knows. But I also want to say another thing I learned that Dean Martin didn't mention is that read the book. Whatever book comes with whatever class, even if it's not covered in the class, read the book. And then the final thing, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was initiated Alpha Tau chapter, which is the chapter here on campus. So I did want to share that as well. So what I have put together is just a few questions that I'm going to answer. I'm going to read the question and answer. And as I do that, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll see your hand. And then how much time do I have before the Q&A? 40 minutes. Okay, good. And then I'll open it up for Q&A afterwards. So, early life and education. Growing up, you mentioned the influence of aunts and uncles, how important it is to have strong role models and support systems, especially for women in tech. It is extremely important to have a role models. So you can imagine if even here on campus, there were a couple of women who were engineers, right? So it's like, it's not like I never saw female engineers even on campus. Well, that's the only time I saw them on campus here, right? So that was very, very important to me. It's important to have a strong support system, people who have maybe gone down the path before you, who can provide guidance and direction and support. It's also important to have peer supporters, right? So that, and I had plenty of those on campus, some who are in the audience now, right? And it's good to see them, some of them will look a little gray. The only difference is you just can't see my gray. It's just kind of hiding it, right? So, but yes, it's very important to have a strong support system. And I did have that on campus with professors and fellow students. Once I left and went to Stanford, it was completely different, right? In terms of my fellow classmates. But there were others on campus who, while we did not take the same classes together, we were in STEM disciplines. And so we formed our own support system. We could not help academically, but in terms of moral support, etc. And you can never underestimate the power of moral support. So I would encourage all of you to do that, not just in your academic discipline or professionally, but in your life as a whole. Okay, so that's the first question. Second question, you initially thought about going into medicine, but pivoted to engineering. What advice would you give students who are still uncertain about their career path? And so I'm gonna speak about this as it relates to professionally, right? So, but growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of when you grow up, right? I knew I was good in math and science. I had adults around me, relatives primarily, who, thought I would be good in medicine to become a doctor. But for me, I can't stand the sight of blood. I get a little queasy, I may feel like I'm about to pass out, so that was not an option for me. But hey, I eventually became a doctor, so they were happy about that. So in terms of professionally out of school, I would say find the role, the position, the job, the company, because you don't have to necessarily just think about working for someone else. You can work for yourself. But understand what your purpose is, what you were born to do. Something that you would do even if you were not paid to do it, but make sure you get paid. I just want to emphasize that point. Something that you enjoy so much that you can't wait to get up out of bed to do, or that you may have to pull yourself away from at the end of the day because you shouldn't work. All work and no play makes Sandra a dog or no play. But whatever that is, that's what you pursue. And it may be something totally different from what you're pursuing now. And that's okay. You will find that as you continue to live, and I want all of you to continue to live, sometimes your interests change. Or you may have multiple interests and you want to, try all of them, maybe not at the same time, but over a period of time. So you focus on that, whatever that is. And then you find people who may have been successful in that discipline. And then reach out to them, ask them to mentor you or provide support, etc. And don't be shy about it, because most people who have reached a level of success in their profession, they had others who helped them. And the way they thank the people who helped them is by helping others. Okay, so reach out, because you're not going to get the help unless you ask for it. You have not because you ask not. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay. Now, if you have any questions as I go through these, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll keep going. Yes, okay. All right. During your 26 career at IBM, you held various influential roles. What challenges did you face as a Black woman in tech leadership? And how did you overcome them? Okay, you have to read the book. However, I'll share a few with you. Okay, I don't think I had any challenges when I was here. I mean, some of my homework was a little difficult to do, but outside of that, my 4 years at Southern were just wonderful. I mean, it's just like heaven. When I went to Stanford, the first class, at the end of the first class, the problem sets were designed for students to work together in groups. So at the end of the first class of every quarter is when the groups form. So I remember the first class I had at Stanford, the end of that class is when everyone got together to form the groups. And my fellow classmates would just look at me up and down from head to toe. And I would say, no, we don't want you in our class. In our group. And so this was a problem because I needed to work in a group. And so as I was standing around, getting a little nervous and perplexed, one of my fellow classmates from another country, Lebanon to be exact, noticed because he was experiencing the same thing. And so we formed our own group. We had another student from another country, Australia, and the three of us formed our group. And these students were like the smartest in the class. So I ended up in the best group for that class. And I also learned from that, right? To approach the students from other countries for my other classes, right? Which is what I did. So I ended up in some of the best classes. So that worked out well for me. Another example is when I went on to Rice University to earn a PhD. And I remember walking into a lab, I think my first or second week on campus, and it was a lab for graduate students. It was a computer science lab. And there was only one lab assistant there when I walked in. I walked in, sat down, and started working. And so this guy came up to me with such confidence. I was sitting down, he was standing up, and he says to me, "I believe wrong place." And at this point, I was a little more mature than when I was at Southern. So I didn't immediately fly off the handle with my mouth. So I chose not to really say what was on my mind. I just responded by saying, no, I'm not. I am in the right place. And so we went a few rounds, "You're in the wrong place, no, I'm not," etc. And then he became a little frustrated. Notice I said he became a little frustrated. And so he started asking me questions. I answered them. And then he discovered that he was a master's degree candidate. I was a PhD degree candidate, right? So that was a little high. I was a little higher on the lung than he was. He asked me who my professor was, who happened to be one of the most powerful professors in the department I was in. I was in electrical and computer engineering. He was in computer science. So then he became a little nervous because he thought maybe I would, complain to my professor about him. And so he apologized. And I said to him, "That's okay this time. But the next time someone who looks like me walks into this lab, don't be so sure of yourself." So instead of using it as an opportunity to, give him a highlighted roadmap of where he should go, I used it as an opportunity to educate. Because he really did believe I was in the wrong place, right? And so I, in a very nice way, but definitely firm way, let him know that I was in the right place. And watch him out the next time. Okay, so you have over 45 patents, an incredible achievement. What drives your creativity and innovation? And how can students cultivate that mindset? I think most people, when they think about a patent, they think about something that, some innovation that completely change how we live in our global society for the better. And while, yes, that is true, the vast majority of patents are really enhancements, if you will, on existing innovations. And I would assert to you that most of you here today, all of you, if you knew what it took to earn a patent, you would know you have the ability to do that. Think about, it still exists today, a remote control, has all those buttons, right? Most of which you have no idea what they do, right? Now, some of you, engineers, for example, or scientists, may want to play with this. What does this do? And you push. And you may ask the question, why do they have all of these buttons? Why do they do it this way? Why couldn't they have done it that way, some other way? And I would say, if you spent time to think about that, what are some of the other ways they could have done it to make it easier for the average Joe Blow to use? You may end up with something unique, and that may be patentable. So what I would say to you is this: as you think about, as you study in your classes, as you work and you encounter any kind of issue, spend some time thinking about, well, how can this be improved so it can be better used than anyone else? And then think about the fact that this may be a patent. Let me go and talk to someone about how do I make this a patent? And I understand that here on campus, there are resources that will help you with that. And I'll let her share more, please do, about how to make that happen, right? You have an opportunity that I did not have when I was here to turn your ideas into actual patents. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, any questions? Okay, I'll keep going. Looking back, how important was the networking you did during your early career at IBM? And what specific strategies can students use to build relationships in a competitive field? Okay, so I'll answer that. Two responses. One is when I first interviewed, well, first of all, I'll tell you the story about how I ended up interviewing for IBM. IBM came on campus, Rice University. And so I went to interview, it was a career fair. And I talked to the representatives there. Once they learned I was a PhD candidate, they told me I was overqualified. Now, I had worked for IBM one summer, right? So I knew that was a flat out lie. I didn't get upset. I just said, okay, this person is ill-informed, I'll find another way. And then months later, I just walked into my office on campus one day. And there was a guy there talking to one of my office mates. And he, when he saw me come in, he stopped talking to him and he went over to me, came over to me and introduced himself. And he said he was a Rice alum and he was on campus to interview PhD candidates. He worked for IBM, T.J. Watson Research Center. And he said, he asked me about my background. When you graduate? Well, I'm graduating in a couple of months. Oh, really? He said, well, I want to talk to you. So he finished his conversation with my office mate. Then he came to me, and once he learned about the research I was doing, he said, you are exactly the type of person that I came to see. So I want to set things up for you to come to IBM research in New York, upstate New York, for an interview. And then he said, no one told you I was coming? I contacted the office about a month ago, and then 2 weeks ago, I said to them, I'm looking for this type of student who's about to graduate. And I said, no one told me. So had I not walked in, when he was talking to my office mate, I may have missed him. But that was, I believe, God ordering my steps. In spite of the situation, I walked in when I was supposed to. So then I go to IBM, the first day, I only had one day interview, and this woman who I did not know was my host. This woman ended up being one of the top technical women at IBM. She became the first female IBM fellow, which is the top technical position at IBM. So she actually, on her own, made a decision to host all females who came to interview at IBM. So she immediately became my support system even before I met her. And so anytime I had any issue early on at IBM, I would always go to her. Sometimes she would advise me to do things that made no sense to me. Why would I want to do that, right? But because I knew of her success, even if it didn't make any sense to me, I believe she knew what she was talking about better than I did. So I heeded to her advice. Almost all of the time worked out well, right? And so I wanted to emphasize that always have the support system and the mentors, as I mentioned earlier. But also, I'm not saying you should listen to them all of the time. But if they're trying to help you navigate your career or whatever, and they've been around a lot longer than you, they probably know some things that you don't know. and it may be a good idea to follow that advice. Okay. So, and I ended up having many people who became my mentors and sponsors. A mentor is someone who may provide you with guidance and support. You can sit down and talk about your career path, what you want to do, and these are the things maybe you should do to prepare for the next level, etc. Whereas a sponsor is going to, when they're in the club, and the guys, because it's still usually the guys, will say, looking for somebody, with this background, with this skill set. Do you know of anyone? You want your sponsor to say, yes, Sandra is the person you want, right? And that decision is made before they even post a job application. And so that happened to me many times. There was one time I was on a vacation, Memorial Day weekend, right? Friday night, late Friday night of Memorial Day weekend. I got a call. Okay, you're going to take the CTO position, and your first day on the job with this new Chief Technology Officer role is Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, right? So it's very important that you have mentors and sponsors who understand what your goals and objectives are and have the power and influence to make it happen for you. Okay. Oh, somebody has some questions, right? Don't be afraid. I can assure you, I'm not going to bite.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
how do you go about getting a mentor or a sponsor?
How do you go about getting a mentor or a sponsor? Sponsors usually, mentors usually move towards sponsorship. Sometimes you're not even aware that you're a sponsor. You think that they're still your mentor. And the best way to do it is you think about, where you want to be ultimately or somewhere along the career path or whatever journey that you're on. And you find people who higher level than you are, either at the ultimate level or somewhere in between, and reach out to them, right? You can, with social media and other means, you can easily find out how to reach people, right? And just reach out to them, say, I love what you're doing with ABC. I would love to talk to you about it, maybe have you as a mentor, and they either say yes or no. Most of the time, if they say no, they are going to recommend someone else that you reach out to. So I'll give you an example. When I was CTO and I was based in Kenya and I lived in Nairobi. And while I was there, the IBM CEO at the time was a woman, and her direct reports, they had their department meeting in Nairobi. And so they all came, the big boys and girls, and they had a lunch for all of the Nairobi employees at this big hotel ballroom, and each of her reports sat at a table with IBM Nairobi employees to sit down and have a chat. And I had two proteges, two mentees, sat at the CEO's table. And they were all excited. They came to me later and they said, I talked to the CEO. And I said, send her an email. And they were like, what? What do you mean? She's the CEO. I was like, yeah, but she does read email. Or she has other people read it for her. Send her an email. Let her know that you enjoyed the conversation. And you would love to have her as your mentee. As a mentor. And one was like, I'm not going to do that. She's busy. I said, just send her the email. The other one was a little apprehensive, but she sent it. So the first one, she never sent it. The second one, she did. And the CEO responded. She said, well, As you might understand, I'm a little busy, but let me introduce you to so-and-so who was her direct report, right? Also a female, and then she'll mentor you. Now, of course, when the boss says mentor somebody, guess what? They're gonna be mentored. So then she worked with this woman, and within 10 years, this lady, who was an entry-level salesperson, moved up very quickly. She ended up moving to Ireland for a while, and then New York City, right? Never been out of Kenya, right? Doing very well, right? Whereas the other lady was still in the same position 10 years later. And I go through the time and effort to explain this story to emphasize the importance of this. Don't be apprehensive, right? Part of the job, the role and responsibility of leaders is to mentor others. Go to all hands meetings or other meetings where leaders are speaking. Do a little research on them, and then go and ask a question during the Q&A. Go speak to them afterwards and ask them for a follow-up meeting. I would love to have you as a mentor. Don't be shy about it. I know, like when we go to social events, we spend a lot of time with our friends, laughing and joking. Like to eat, gotta have that food, have the fried chicken, whatever. Because I love it myself. But also work the room. Get to meet everyone there, right? And don't do it mindset, oh, let me see who has the power that can help me, right? Because they may be there, but there also may be people who you can help. Just get to know people. And so you work the room, get to know everybody, have a conversation. So when you leave the room, you have a better idea of who was there. You know who to follow up with in terms of helping you to move forward or helping you in some other areas that you may not have even thought about, but it was brought to your attention during a conversation. Right. I was just, let me see what week is this? Last week, I was in Chicago. And Black Women on Boards had a summit in Chicago at the top of the Salesforce Tower in Chicago. Beautiful view. One of the co-founders of this organization is the number 2 person at Salesforce, being groomed to be the CEO. And did I say Black women? Yes, she's a Black woman. And so the opening reception, there were a lot of people there I didn't know, right? But by the time I left, I met a lot of people who can help me. By the way, I'm starting a venture capital firm. In the middle of that, providing funding to entrepreneurs, students, and others in AI-focused companies. I met quite a few people there who I can partner with, right, to make that happen. I met quite a few people there who are potential investors in my venture capital firm. By the way, it's Greenwood Ventures Management LLC, right? So I would not have known that had I just spoke to the people at this reception, right? Yes.
You can finish that thought.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. You talking about the importance of building connections.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, did you always have an extroverted personality to do that, or did you gain those skills? And if so, how did you do it?
Yeah, I'm not an extrovert.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I'm not. That was, especially here at Southern, except for my close classmates.
Right.
I was very comfortable just leaning against the wall, watching everyone else, right? But I think when I started at IBM and my mentors, many of the mentors that I had reached out to me because there was a time at IBM when it was safe to reach out to others to mentor them. And so when it became safe, and that's when a new CEO who was not groomed inside IBM came in and said, okay, you guys can have these networking groups or whatever. And so the black executives then went to HR and looked for some of the top people, you know, 1 and 2 levels below executive to reach out to mentor. And so I was on one of the people that popped up. And so I had people come to me to mentor me. And when I told them about what I had done, and they were like, well, this should be happening to you because of this, that, or the other. And I was like, well, no, it's not. And then they became appalled that it wasn't happening. And that opened my eyes, right? So it's like, well, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to this. And then all of a sudden, doors started opening. And I'm like, maybe leaning against the wall is not a good thing. So, I had to, James Brown, James Brown. Use what you got to get what you want, right? So I had the ability to have a conversation with anybody. I had to get past it's a struggle, right? But then when I think about, okay, well, if I do this, then this would happen. So, then the struggle, it became less of an issue. It never completely went away, right? And so usually when that happens, I always talk about this beautiful day. Everyone likes to talk about a beautiful day, and that's a nice opener, especially if the day is beautiful. Right? So, but no, I haven't always. It's just like, yes.
A two-part question.
Mhm.
Were you an athlete? Did you play volleyball for 7, or you just took the PE class?
Well, it was required to take one PE class. That was the only PE class I took at Southern. I wanted a few B's, by the way.
And who was your coach at that time?
I can't remember the name. Yeah, I was an athlete for a very short period of time when I was in junior high school. And, this was before I was in Title IX, where they had to have women's sports. Like, so after that year, and then I went to high school, there were no women's sports. Okay? So I was not an athlete, but I was for a short period of time in junior high.
So this is for the students, actually. So what's one of a couple, however many things you want to share? What are a few things or one thing that you wish you would have done while you were at Southern, looking back sort of on your career? Is there anything that you said, oh, I wish I would have done that?
That's I can't really think. And I've already said this, the only thing that comes to mind is, to read that book about volleyball. Right? And that was my very first semester on campus. And so I learned from that to just be focused, on studying, but I didn't study all of the time. I went to parties, I had a good time, but I always left them early so that I can, get a good night's sleep. I think everything I wanted to do, I did. Now you ask me about the rest of my life, that's things I could have done differently, but my 4 years at Southern, it was.
Or let me rephrase the question here, because it's really talking to us.
Yeah.
What is something that you, at least, maybe one or two things that they should do while they're here?
Yeah.
That will.
Don't party all the time. I know you've heard that from a whole lot of people that maybe you don't want to hear, but and only you know just how. Make sure you are here to graduate. Okay, you're here to graduate, to learn as much as you can, and then graduate. the social side of college life is good, right? But understand that priority, okay, it's not the social life. The priority is learning as much as you can while you can. Once you start working, well, once you go back to school, and always be a lifelong learner, but your time as an undergraduate, make sure that you study. And, okay, this is one thing, but just looking back, the relationships that you have, that you make on campus, stay in contact with these people for a lifetime. Right? But the important thing is you study hard, you learn the material, don't just try to slide past the work just to get, well, I'm a B student, so I'll just study enough to get a B. Or I am going to party all night and then spend 1 hour studying for this exam. No, you doing a flip might be better, but it may not be the best for you. But understand you are there to learn. Once you get out and you're going to be competing against people, who may have spent less time partying and they therefore know the information a lot better than you. So when you are being evaluated compared to them, guess who's going to come out on top? So it's understand that you get that strong foundation, right? Now, don't misunderstand me. Don't spend all your time studying. That's not good either. You know what the right combination is for you, right? So studying, but have those relationships and keep them for a lifetime. And the third thing's very, very important as well, because to whom much is given, much is required, service. Spend time serving others, even while you're on campus. But the priority is what? I heard this on I'm gonna ask one more time. The priority is what?
When my first job, I was in a rotation program, and I rotated into another group, and the guy didn't want to interview. So he said the reason, I'm like compared to the law school, and he never had time for me to come over for the next week, my next 3 month rotation. And the reason he said he didn't want to hire me was in a temporary position because he had hired someone from an HBCU years ago and it didn't work out. I asked him the question, I'm a little 21, 22-year-old, want to jump across the table and confront him. But he said the person was from another HBCU, it didn't work out. And he didn't want to hire me. I went back and talked to my boss, and she said I didn't want to work for him anyway. He wasn't a good person. But, I taught here at Southern, and I had a student to come to me years later and say the same thing. He didn't know my story. He said he went for a position, and someone said, well, he hired someone, and he said from Southern. And the guy was erroneous because he said the major that he graduated from, the person he was talking about was from Southern. Southern didn't have that degree. So, he had a perception of an HBCU graduate that was locked into his head. I would like to know, how did you, any of those types of, issues come up with you being from an HBCU going into corporate America?
Because I had an HBCU degree and a Stanford degree, that kind of, anything they said about HBCU, I said, well, it was good enough for me to get to Stanford and graduate from Stanford. So go somewhere and sit down. I didn't tell them that. But, in a nice way, that's what I said to him. Yeah. But one thing I can say is that there are people who are going to prejudge you. Okay? They know nothing about you. They just take one look at you and just assume, and the prejudging is usually you don't know anything, you have no skills, etc. Okay? That is their opinion. Don't let their opinion of you become who you are. You know who you are. Now, they may have some power and they may block you temporarily. That's where your mentors and sponsors come in. So, because, if you really want, let's say, this job and your manager who's supposed to work with you, your boss, to help you and prepare you for job A, does not want you to have it because he wants one of his boys to have job A. But if you have a mentor or a sponsor, they will call your boss. And because your boss wants, they will call your boss and say, well, if you want job B, you're going to do right by Sandra and make sure that you help her get job A. That's the way it works. Okay. So if someone tells you to your face, you don't measure up, that happened to me many times. You're in the wrong place, you don't measure up, etc. And I'm like, yeah, right. Because I knew it was their opinion. Right? And you have to have, so don't let that get the best of you. Understand how to work the system on your behalf. But that means not leaning up against the wall. You have to work the room, you have to have the mentors and others to support, provide your support and assistance. Yes.
How well did Southern prepare you to go to Stanford? Were you at a disadvantage with the other students there in the graduate school?
I felt I was well prepared to go to go to Stanford and do well. Because remember, the issue was we worked together in groups, and once I got in the group with the smartest students in the class, I don't want to say it was easier because it's a difficult place, right? But the background, the foundation that I had at Southern, and understand it was not just the academics, but it was the support, the camaraderie of my fellow students, so when I made it to Stanford, it's like, I can't let my people down. And I'm not. Okay, Thea, I see you. Yes.
I just have to brag on this lady a minute and answer my colleague's question here, if I may. Not COVID, y'all, just allergies, and I had a surgery recently, and my doctor wants me to be careful and not get a cold. But that's all it is. So Dr. Johnson, I had the honor and joy of meeting her, and how many years since. I was also a student at Stanford, a master's student at the time. I was a Rice undergrad, actually. It's kind of funny. Got to Stanford, and then she did her doctorate at Rice, and I did my doctorate at Cornell. So we did this, but we had this time of crossing. And as far as preparation is concerned, I promise you, I'm not saying this just because I'm here and she's here. She and another woman from here, Joanne Wilson, right, were two, and to this day, are two of the top engineers, period. And I'm an electrical engineer, right? But ECE is the only department, right? Electrical and computer engineering. If I may talk to her, Sandra, she is me. This girl, you could say, Sandra, what do y'all think about this problem? And Sandra would go, or answer. Okay, so Southern prepared her very well. I'm not an alum, but my father from the mid-50s, and he just passed this last spring in his 90s. He's a Southern alum. Graduated from here in mathematics education, and then went on to get his master's, I believe, at Xavier in New Orleans. But back to Dr. Johnson, and I have to say, my dear husband of many, many years is a professor over in the law center. He's a law school professor here. And I tell you that because of something she touched on, which is one of his rules that he tells his students. There's 2 rules of school. Number 1, get in. And if you've already done that. And rule number 2, get out. So I just want to say more than, and then one last thing is indeed, read the book, her book, and then she said in classes, read the book. I am, yes, I'm a professor, but I'm more at that other place here. Because of Al. But anyway, and I'm also a parent twice over of, college students. Our youngest is still in college, our oldest is grown and married. But if you're gonna pay for the book, or borrow the book, or whatever, read the book, right? I mean, especially
And
if you
preferably
spend
pay
your money.
for it.
Huh? Say what now? I didn't hear you.
Preferably pay for it.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I was talking about
As opposed
textbooks.
to borrow.
Oh, no. This book I was talking about textbooks. As she said, with the volleyball book, if you're going to have it, you gotta go through it, because I'm a parent too, so I know how much textbooks cost, right? As a lot of y'all do. So make sure, but very importantly that yes, sir, she was extremely well prepared. I'm honored to have known her these years and finally get a chance to catch up with her. My little mask back on, shut up.
I see a student.
Hello, my name is Sandra K, and I'm a senior major in mechanical engineering. I just would like to know, were you active in any other organizations on campus outside your sorority? And if so, how did that impact your career?
I was at Triple president actually my senior year. I think my junior year was secretary, right? So I've been a member of IEEE since I was a sophomore here. I think every year I pay my dues. And so yes, that really helped me a lot in terms of leadership capabilities, etc. We did a lot because companies gave us a lot of money. We took trips every year to Southeast Com, so we had to plan that. My senior year, we worked with Ronald Robins Air Force Base, Ronald Robins, Georgia, and they sent this bus, and my fellow students and I, we took a trip there. So working with the folks at the Ronald Robins Air Force Base, their leadership capabilities, or anyone who came on campus, the IEEE leadership was requested. So I was active in IEEE Society of Women Engineers as well, and those are the ones I remember. TST, IEEE Society of Women Engineers. Nesby was not on campus when I was a student. I probably wouldn't.
Hello, my name is Darius Taylor, senior major in electrical engineering. I'm actually the current person of IEEE.
Oh, hey, good for you.
My question for you is, I know it was mentioned that you're an IEEE fellow. I know there's only a few amount of people that have that title in the world, actually. So can you tell me a little bit about that journey, how you stepped into that?
Okay, so IEEE is a professional organization, and just recently it hit 500,000 members globally, right? It's a global professional organization. Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, okay? And only the top 1% of IEEE members reach the elevation level of fellow. And an IEEE fellow is someone who has made a significant contribution to our global society. There's a long, drawn-out, detailed process where you submit an application and it's evaluated by existing IEEE fellows. And then once you go through that process, then you're recommended to be elevated to that level. And so for me, I never thought of myself as an IEEE fellow. I reached out to one of my mentors, asking her to be a reference for me for a promotion at IBM. And so she said, yes, I'll be a reference. Send me your resume or some information on you so that I can make sure that I write a truthful, realistic letter. And I sent it to her, right? And so in her mind, she looked at it and she said, Sandra has done enough to be an IEEE fellow. She picks up the phone And she calls this guy, who's IBM, who was the immediate past president of IEEE, global president, and said, I think Sandra could be a fellow. Unbeknownst to me, I'm not aware of this. I think Sandra could be a fellow. What do you think? And so this guy responds, well, not only that, I will sponsor her. So then she calls me on a Saturday morning. She doesn't even say hello. She says, I got so-and-so to sponsor your IEEE fellow nomination. This is what I want you to do. Not, hi, Sandra, do you want to be an IEEE fellow? She just went straight to the point. You go on site, find a list of IEEE fellows, put them in 3 categories. One is, these are the people that you know would write a good reference letter for you. Number 2, you know them, maybe, maybe not. Write a good reference. Number 3, don't ask them. Right? And so that's what I did. That's how I exist. And I became a fellow primarily because I led a team. You know about this operating system called Linux operating system, open source operating system. I led a team that early on in the Linux journey, Linux was just considered, good for hobbyists, those who played with it on PCs, this is before laptops, PCs. And so IBM put together a team that I led to look at Linux, to add features and functions that would optimize its performance on very high-end machines that banks and, global banks and other major global companies use. They buy IBM mainframes, like IBM servers, and they wanted Linux to perform well on those. And so it didn't before the team that I led we put together a team that actually did just that. And so now when you think about the major banks of the world, 90-something% of them, even the companies that didn't really exist the way they do now, like Facebook and Google and AWS, they all use Linux, right? Partly based upon the work that the team I led did to make sure it was ready for that. And that's why I became an IEEE fellow, the first Black woman to get that title.
Yes. My name is Cade Presents. I'm currently a master's student in my degree in computer science, and I plan on getting my PhD as well. So how did you stay motivated and not burn out, during that journey or during the process?
The motivation for me is that I absolutely love the work. I was introduced to engineering when I attended the Engineering Summer Institute at Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the summer before my senior year in high school. Before then, I just thought an engineer was someone who drove a train. I mean, of course, an engineer is but I didn't know about the other engineering profession until I came on campus. Even when I applied, I thought I was applying to learn how to drive a train. But that was okay with me because that enabled me to get away from home so I wouldn't have to wash dishes. Right. And so I was introduced to electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering. Fell in love with electrical. This is what I was born. So I absolutely love the work. So no matter what somebody told me about what I didn't measure up, I knew they did not know what they were talking about because I knew this is what I was born to do. And that's what motivated me. I was born to do this. I love doing it. And I will continue to do it.
Take one more question.
Funny, nobody has one. It's all the way in the back.
Person in the back.
Let's go to the views. We enter any students on campus now?
I do not mentor any students on campus. No student has asked me on campus to mentor them.
If I may, I want to add to that. I didn't mention it before, but also Dr. Johnson has pledged, and I'm not going to disclose the amount, but she's pledged a substantial scholarship for students. We're in the process of getting that endowed. And so she's doing the work. But if you want her to be your mentor, you have to send the email. But I do want to recognize her for her substantial gift to the education of students at Southern University.
Not because you asked not, so ask somebody, yeah, somebody to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, for all of the information that you shared with all of us today. Let's please applaud all of us. I'm not going to allow her to get back in the car with her husband who raised his hand several times. So I have to go back. Please go ahead.
Probably not relevant anymore, but you ask students to think of working for themselves as an entrepreneur yourself. What do you have an advice for them as what to think about, to become self-employed?
Yeah, so entrepreneurship. So I think that the timing for someone who may be thinking about becoming an entrepreneur could not be better, especially if you are in STEM, right? Because we are at a place from a technology perspective in AI where you start your own company that addresses an issue that the world can benefit from, then you can be the next Mark Zuckerberg, that may be a little more socially responsible, but the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? And given the very real fact that many students, relative to just a few years ago, are having a difficult time finding a job, right? Create your own job. Use AI. There are so many issues out here that we can address. And we as a people, once we enter a field, we innovate and create on top of that, makes that area substantially better. Just think about the Williams sisters and tennis, Tiger Woods in golf, some medical doctors in the field of medicine, right? They innovated on top of the existing rules. Now the whole world benefits from it. And so because we have the type of background that not everyone has, and we can use that background to benefit our global society. So seriously think about entrepreneurship as a possibility. There are resources on campus now that can help you. And that woman is standing right there, she can tell you a little bit about some of them, right? Remember I said have not because you ask not, okay? So don't just ask me.
And that's a great entryway. I'm gonna let Dr. Banks come forward right quick to talk about a resource that's really not available on a lot of HBCU campuses. Southern University Library became the second HBCU to have a U.S. designated patent and trademark resource center within the library. And so you're very fortunate to be here. I know there are a lot of innovators sitting in the room today. And so I just wanted to share a minute, and then after Dr. Banks, then we're going to ask Dr. Walker, Dr. Finley, Dr. Melian Williams from the engineering department to please come up and do a final presentation for us.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, our library is a PTRC, a Patent and Trademark Resource Center. We assist innovators, entrepreneurs who are interested in learning about how to apply for patents, trademarks, service marks. Come and see us. You can point to the resources available from the USPTO, and if you are interested, you can see it.
Thank you, Dr. Banks. And after you do that research, you see that you really do have this great idea. She said a lot of the patents are modifications, and you can go right across the street to the Southern University Law Center where they can help you with your application to move forward. So you have a lot of resources on the campus.
Thank you, Dean Kite. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Just on behalf of the Dean's Office and the College of Sciences and Engineering, number one, I want to thank you for your time as a fellow Rice University PhD recipient, computational and applied mathematics. I want to thank you for your time here. And as a token of our appreciation, we would like to pin you with one of our College of Sciences and Engineering pins.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we want to thank Dr. Johnson for being with us and dropping such wonderful gems to us. And I hope that you all have taken away some very valuable information today. But at this time, we're going to allow her to share her book with you. And I hope that you take advantage and get that book, sew it into your life, sew into her, and sew into you at the same time. And we also have some light refreshments that we would like to share as well. So please take part in both. Visit with her and then come and get you something to take to go. Thank you.
And as she takes her seat, please thank Dean Martin. When I tell you, you have one of the best deans in your college of science. Oh, wait, I didn't ask my question. I'm sorry. Y'all have one more minute. I need some students to tell me what were some gems. 3 students, right quick. 3 students. Give me a gem that you received from today.
I would say reaching out to mentors, no matter what, no matter their business, their presentation, what they're doing, reaching out to somebody and getting mentored.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stepping into rooms where also people may look down on you and know your self-worth is not
Excellent. You're the first 3 students to get books on me. Get in line. Don't leave because we also have additional.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Once you start to sign.
Dr. Johnson, can you just join us right here on this?
Yeah, we got the pictures right quick.
Engineering, so y'all come and just gather around Dr. Johnson behind the couch.